From Zach. Dear Andrew, Captain Mike Klavan, I have been listening to your podcast for over a year now and have always marveled at your dedication to upholding the values you believe to be both true and right. How does a man stay true to what he holds in his heart and mind to be just and true in a society that is ever shifting away from Judeo-Christian values? Love the show, Zach. First of all, that's very kind of you. I have failed a million times, as I'm sure everybody has, to uphold my values. And as I say, I spent the early part of my life a really twisted guy, and I worked very hard to become a better guy. I will say this, I do, on my own behalf, I do look back in my life and I see that I could have had a lot of things that I don't have because I chose the path of being what I am. It always seemed to me that there was no point in living by my pen, which is how I have made my living my whole adult life. There was no point in living by my pen if the words that I was putting down on paper weren't at least what I thought to be true at the moment I was writing them, if they weren't at least that. And I mean, I look back at moments, I think I've talked about this before. I had a very popular young adult series called The Homelanders. I sold it for good money in England, and they wanted to remove all the biblical references in it because they hate God and they hate the Bible at the bookstore. And they said the big bookstores won't handle it. I refused 5 times to do it. And it cost me a lot. They killed the book basically in England, where I'd had this great contract, and it was terrible. It was a terrible thing. So you ask the question, and the answer is you pay the price. That's the answer. You pay the price. I knew when I made that decision it was going to cost me, and I've never regretted it. But I paid a price, and I paid a lot of price. I mean, I don't work very much in Hollywood anymore, though I still get some opportunities because of what I'm doing right now, because of what I'm saying right now. When they Google me, this is the first thing that comes up. And they read my books, they love my books, they read my scripts and my writing samples, and they love those, and they call me in, but then they Google me and they see this stuff, and it costs. So when people ask this question, I always feel that the second half of the question isn't being asked, which is how can I do right without paying the price? And that's the answer. You cannot. You've got to resolve to pay the price. And it goes back to how I opened the show. It depends on what you want, and I really wanted to be the guy that I am. I mean, I can say that I can say that the person I am now, imperfect, flawed, make mistakes, but it is the guy I set out to be. And that is incredibly important to me and an incredible source of joy to me. I mean, I can look at my wife, I can look at my kids, I can say, I told you who I am, this is who I am that guy. So that's an incredible source of joy to me when I sit down to write and know that I'm writing exactly what I think and know that I'm willing to pay the price of not writing a bestseller, but of writing something that's going to be a little offbeat and say things that aren't popular with the in crowd. I know I'm going to pay that price, but it gives me tremendous joy to be the guy I set out to be. That's the answer. You got to pay the price. All right. And again, I'm not touting my honesty over anybody else's. I'm just saying that I set out with those goals, and I can point to places where I've paid the price for them.